Hello and welcome to the Queen's Couch Podcast with our amazing host, Dr. Tanika Victoria. She curates a space for women where all women are encouraged to collaborate and do not collide. Join us on the couch tonight. Hello and welcome to the Queen's Couch. This month, it is Women's History Month, and we are celebrating some women that have made tremendous strides in their fields, breaking barriers, inspiring change, and thriving in their purpose. Today, we have an extraordinary guest joining us, a woman who embodies resilience, faith, and excellence. In the world of medicine, she is not only making a name for herself, but she is paving the way for others to rise. Join me on the couch as we sit down with none other than Kendrea Robinson. Welcome to the Queen's Couch. How are you tonight?
I am doing good tonight. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Awesome.
So tell everyone who you are and who is Kendrea Robinson. Who is she?
Well, I have learned that I hold a lot of different components. But I am a nurse practitioner. And number one, I am a child of God. As a nurse practitioner, I do help a lot of women, especially within the communities, within my local community, different states, with helping them be more empowered. I focus a lot on, making sure that individuals are taking better care of themselves, taking care of their health, and also just being able to thrive. And so I'm not gonna go too much into depth tonight because I know that you're getting ready to ask me some questions. But I also add to that I'm also an author and I am a consultant for Visionary Incubator Enterprises where I help businesses grow and thrive as well.
Awesome. This is such a pleasure to have you. It's so befitting to have someone who not only thrives in her field, but help other businesses, help other women who care about women. With it being Women History Month, we definitely want to share the extraordinary women that we have right here in Columbia that are doing amazing things. And so I'm so honored to have you tonight. And I want to ask you, can you share your journey from the bedside of nursing to becoming a nurse practitioner and this amazing leader in healthcare? Tell us about that journey and how did it start?
Oh, God. Um, so it's definitely a long story, but I'm gonna try to tell the short version of it. So I actually graduated from high school in 2007, and I always tell people my journey started in right after I got out of high school. Because during the process of getting into nursing school, it takes so much. It takes sacrifices, it takes resiliency, it takes consistency. And so in that process, there was a lot that I was becoming. Of course, all of us go through different things, but nursing was just one of those things where I learned how to really become another woman, another version of myself. And so I graduated with my ADN, which is associate degree in nursing, in 2012. And while I was in nursing school, that is when I grew my faith. I was raised in church all my life. My dad is an elder. My mom is a praying woman, and so I knew about God. But it's never like learning about God on your own. When you have to, it's like that push was there. And so in that process, I was able to learn how to be more obedient, learn how to sacrifice, and I wasn't the most, obedient as I could have been, knowing so much now. But in that process, it grew me to another level. And so now that I'm a nurse practitioner, and when I look back, I realize that it was the process that has put me in the place to help, other women and grow other individuals and be the nurse that I am when I was on bedside and when I, now as a leader in my own practice. And it was because I learned how to not only have faith for myself, but I learned how to have faith for others as well. Because when you working as a nurse and you're caring, you're nurturing, you have to go every day into something you don't even know what you're going to encounter. You don't know how that person feels or what those different individuals feels, because we as nurses, we encounter different people every day. So we deal with so many different personalities, we deal with so many different dynamics of the lifestyle, from not just medicine, but we deal with what's going on in the homes, what's going on with the family members. And so I had to learn how to grow another level of faith, because my character was on the line. My personality was on the line, how I responded was on the line, and I had learned it wasn't even about me anymore. When you go through certain trials and tribulations in life, you make it about you. But once you get to a place where you're helping other individuals, you realize you're not living for just you living for others.
That is amazing. And one of the things that really stuck out to me is when you said you not only had to have faith for yourself, but faith for others. And so that's a true testament of someone who really wants women to rise and really wants to see the best out of her patients, her community. That you have to sometimes have faith for people who have given up, who really don't even know if they're going to be able to make it. And so for you to be able to say, hey, I have the faith, you're going to do it, you're going to make it, that is amazing. And so that just shows how you've grown over these years, from the bedside to being this woman that we see today. You know, nurse practitioners, they really play a critical role in extending patients' access. How has your faith influenced you to serve and advocate for patients?
Um, Now that I'm here with my own practice, it's on another level, because when I deal with a lot of my patients, it's like God always makes me, when I'm assessing them, we assess as nurse practitioners, but when I assess them, he always add the spiritual part to it, or he's always adding the mental part to it. And so when I get into my realm, it just, in a leadership role, it allows me, number one, to consistently tap into my own self-assessment. Where am I before I even go into helping my patients? Every single day I'm having to read books. I'm having to, and I mean spiritually and mentally, I'm having to do the self work in order to make sure that I'm providing a quality care to my patients, as a leader to the community, as, a leader to my staff. I'm always having to pour into me. I'm always having to take care of me so that I can help take care of my patients. And doing that, it frees me up to be able to have the level of faith that I have for them. I have patients who, from some of them, I have one, she's getting married. I have that came in one way and now she's getting married. I have patients who lost, physical weight, but not only did they lose physical weight, but there were things that they didn't even know they was dealing with, in the process. And there were, times I have to go and pray. They don't know that I'm praying for them. So, I have to have the faith for them, because somebody has to do it. That's like in the Bible, there were so many people that had faith for people who didn't have faith. And so, as a provider, being that I'm in that role where God has placed me in leadership, I have learned how to acknowledge that. I've learned that if they don't have faith, I'm going to have the faith for them. And I'm going to show them through my faith, because, the Bible talks about how we have to be the light. So that's part of my light, is having the faith for my patients and letting them know, like, hey, this is a real thing. And because I have faith, which they may not always know that I have that kind of faith for them, but they end up seeing the glory of God, and I end up hearing, about the testimonies. So
Yes, that is amazing. When you really think about it, you as a person that pours into someone, and you definitely tapped into something amazing, that you have to pour into yourself so that you can be in a great state of mind. It's so many nurses, so many caregivers that are experiencing compassion fatigue. How do you ensure that, you know, you're not going to experience compassion fatigue? And how can you help those nurses that are new? They're excited, they're out of school, they want to do all they can for their patients, but sometimes they're not taking care of themselves. So what are some things that you can tell the next generation to help them to have the fortitude, the spiritual faith to be able to minister to their clients? Because nursing is definitely a ministry. And, as you think about it and as you have your faith and you're developing it, how can you help someone fresh out of nursing school and they just want to be the best that they can not burn out.
Right. So the first thing is I would like to know, why did you go into nursing? That's the first question. Because we do, to be transparent, we have so many individuals that just go into nursing, because they want to look cute in their scrubs, or, they go into it for the money. I hear it so many times. And although, a lot of it is true about some of the things, the reason why people go into nursing, if you don't have the compassion, within your first year, you're going to be fatigued. Within your first week, you may be fatigued because you are going to have to pour out. And so, in order to be the excellent nurse, in order to be the nurse that God has called every nurse to should be, which is you're going to have compassion. And so, you're going to have to extend compassion even when you may not feel like it, because once again, it's not about you. You're going to have to learn how to master taking care of you. So when you get into nursing, a lot of people like to get into it and they want to rush the process. They're ready to, feel like they've been in it for 5 years within a year. But number one, because you're going into nursing as a brand new nurse, you're going to have to, first of all, start with your skill set. So once you master your skill set, the compassion fatigue actually becomes a little bit easier, because you know how to balance both. You can focus on being master, you can focus on utilizing your skills properly, and you can focus at the same time when you're master, like once you get into nursing a little longer, you'll be able to balance skill set and having compassion. But when you first get into nursing, sometimes it's a little challenging because you may take a little longer on your skills. Sometimes, you may have a lot going on, because we are multitaskers. So you may have a lot going on. So it's a little more challenging to always be in that mode of happiness and joy and want to show compassion. But you got to give yourself grace. You got to learn how to step back and say, you know what? This is a lot that I'm doing. I have a lot of meds I got to pass out, or whatever role that you're playing, I'm learning something new. So that's number one, is knowing why you're doing it, so that when you get into the field and you start working on your skills and you start having to be compassionate, even while you're learning, it'll be a little easier because you're doing it with joy. When you are in it because for the right reason, it's easier for you to do your job with joy, even when you're learning. When I started, I used to take my time. I'm not rushing to pass out medicine because I'm not going to make an error, because you're here to end. You never hear the end of it. You made an error. So you have to just pace yourself, give yourself grace on the journey. Don't rush the journey. Don't look at social media and feel like you have to be the nurse superstar or you got to be the nurse influencer. If you want to encourage others, that's totally fine. But give yourself grace on the journey. And then the next thing is, I just highly encourage you to continuously take care of you. Make time for you. Don't extend yourself to a lot of shifts if you know that you are a person and you haven't mastered, your skill set and your compassion set, because that is important. You're going to have compassion at the bedside, especially if you want to reap your harvest. You can't go into it just trying to rush to get a dollar, or, just to rush to say, hey, I'm a nurse. But it requires you to have compassion, because nursing is a very unique field, but you're going to have to learn how to have good skill set and have compassion. So give yourself grace, take your time, and don't rush the process.
Thank you for sharing that. You talked about your compassion skill set. So, what are some things that is in that skill set that you need to have? What soft skills that they need to have to make sure that, listen, I need this in my compassion toolbox.
Yes. So I always, like, now, even when I'm like with my husband and stuff, one of the biggest things that I'm big on is I look at the whole picture. So, like, my husband is a road rage person. So I'm gonna just use this as an example. So, like, he gets upset like if somebody driving slow, or they don't they don't turn at the right time, and I'm just like, you don't know what that person have going on. You don't know if they had a bad day. You don't know, like, you don't know what is going on with someone. So to have compassion, you need to look at the whole person, but also look at their family members, look at their lifestyle, look at the housing dynamics. Like, don't get upset if somebody is consistently hitting a call bell, or, don't get upset if you feel like this person keep asking you questions. Have compassion and grace. You don't know what school grade level they're on, because a lot of times we collect a lot of data in healthcare, but we that don't mean that we always look at every single thing that they provide. So you don't know the school grade level. So you don't get irritated when they want to know more information about what you're giving them, or their health. And then also, be mindful of, you don't know what happened. They could have lost a family member, this week, and may not be saying anything. They could have been neglected as a person. They may have had a bad experience in the hospital. So they could be hitting a call bell a lot, So it's just so many dynamics that you have to pay attention to when it comes to showing compassion, because all of that matters. So when you can look at the whole dynamic, it allows you to be a lot more compassionate, really. And so that's one of the parts. And then the other part is, before you start your day, or before, if something happens while you're at work and you know that you are not mentally in a good space, just go ahead and remove yourself. Like, just go ahead and, take yourself away from the environment, because you don't want to project that type of energy on someone who really needs you at that time.
Those are some great tips. Thank you for sharing. Definitely, you need compassion when you are in your field. You are a great leader, and moving into leadership, it comes with some challenges. Tell us about any moments where you had to lean into your faith to navigate a big obstacle.
So that's a challenging question, because I feel like every day is a challenge. I've realized, when God called you to something, you just have to accept it after a while. Sometimes we don't like to accept our calling, but leadership is one of those callings where God is consistently reminding me, you're a leader, and this is what's going to happen. You're going to always have challenges. You're going to always grow. You're always asking me to give you wisdom. But if you're asking God for wisdom, which we all need, He's going to consistently give us challenges. I know we want to live this world so perfectly, but it is not possible. And so there has been so many different challenges. But I do believe being in business has been, well, let me say, being in healthcare business has been one of the most challenging challenges for me. This is the place where God has humbled me to a whole nother level. This is the place where I've learned that my prayer life every morning is not just one prayer. It's like prayer for business, prayer for personal. It's like to a whole nother level. And so just business, this business has really took me to a whole nother level spiritually. But it's a great thing, because people look on the outside and they're like, oh, you just look like everything is just so good. And it's not that everything is so good. It's just that God has taught me how to, first of all, I'm a testimony for someone else. So God has taught me how to walk in grace and humbleness, still go through trials, still go through tribulations, and it doesn't have to show as an effect, like affected me. And that's the problem a lot of times, is we get shy down when we're going through, like, life is going to be so perfect. But I've realized life is not going to be perfect. And so you got to show up when you don't want to show up as a leader. I've learned how to master that. So nobody will ever know when I'm going through anything, because I've mastered that for sure. And so that's really my take on challenges. Is every day I'm gonna have a challenge. Every day is gonna be something. But one thing I realized is he's never going to leave me hanging. He's never going to, have me just like, oh, it's over, it's done. No matter how many times I'm like, God, I can always, like, I'm not doing this. Like, I can give this up. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. But God is like, no, so it's just, I know for a fact he has my back 10,000. So I think that is the biggest thing. But the biggest thing is knowing that he is not going to leave you hanging. He's not. He's going to be there for sure. You just got to
Yes,
learn through it and grow through it.
yes, he's definitely not going to leave you hanging. And the power of
Mm-mm.
showing up when you're a leader, it's the power in the show up. Sometimes you just don't even feel like it, but your showing up is somebody else's, way out, or someone just seeing your face, or just seeing you continuing to go. So
Yeah.
you've been talking about your business, Practical Purpose Solutions. So tell us about your company, and tell us what made you start this amazing company and movement.
So Practical Purpose Solutions was started in 2020. I've always been, well, let me go back to 2020, 2016. I lost a tremendous amount of weight. I changed my whole perspective on how I was raised with food. If you're from the South, we love to eat. We love sweet teas. We love any type of food. As long as the season is good, we eating it. And
Yes.
so, so when I was in California, I would literally go to lunch. I would literally, try to go to different restaurants. I could not find soul food. It was just like, what in the world? My whole life changed when that happened, and I had to adapt to a new life. At the time, I was like, I'm gonna just do this for 3 months, and because I have no other choice. And so what I realized, I lost so much weight when I got back home. Everybody was like, "You lost so much weight. Like, what did you do?" But I never been through that type of journey. Never had a family member that went through that type of journey because my family, like, predominantly diabetics, and that's what we raised off. We raised off food, so I wasn't used to people trying to go on diets or losing weight. So came back home, and once I got back home, I began to educate my community because I realized that people wanted to know. So I just gave them what I did, which was change my lifestyle. Got into a more workout routine, got a fitness trainer, and then from there, the whole health realm is where it stemmed from. So I started educating more in the community. I started a nonprofit. It was called One More Step. Did lots of education, did different workshops, and then from there in 2020, we started after I got my nurse practitioner license, we started Practical Purpose Solutions. So, on the health journey, one of the things that I had encountered was IV hydration therapy. I received my first IV hydration therapy in Atlanta, and I was so amazed at how I felt. Like, it was just, I never felt so good outside of, just different things. But it was just like, wow, this hydration is real. You hear about IV fluids. I give IV
Mhm.
fluids in the hospital, but experiencing it was just like, wow. So I've always been one of those leaders that I'm more of a trendsetter. I like to set trends. I don't know why God did that, but he has. And so I was like, I gotta start this. Like, and when I started talking to like people in my environment, they was like, "Well, when you gonna start it?" Like, they've been telling me about it in 2019 and 2020. It was like, "You need to go ahead and do it." You keep saying, I am," but sometimes we can't just move off when we feel like it. I had prayed on it. I wanted to make sure things were in alignment, and so in 2021 is when I started doing the IV hydration therapy. That was the first service that I offered. And along with health coaching. So I wasn't offering like the injections and all the different things that we offer now at first. I was primarily only serving IV hydration therapy. And it was a blessing because at the time, that's when COVID happened. People were just trying to find like an outlet. They were just trying to get better. Nobody knew what they could do. But I'm telling you, those IV hydration therapy sessions worked wonders for the patient. And even in that, it made me realize, okay, God called me to this because at the time, I was the first, IV hydration therapy clinic to focus on vitamin infusions. And so a lot of my patients, they were really getting healed. Like within 30 minutes, they were coming in, they were feeling better, they was looking better. They were texting next day like, "Hey, like, I'm about to send my family over there." Like, it was like a ripple effect because people was real. And I was like, Lord, you got me feel like I'm in, when the rain came with Noah, like I was ready and prepared. But that's how I felt because people were really getting delivered. And from there, we now offer weight loss. We do like semaglutide, tarzipatide injections, which is more like Ozempic and Mounjaro injections. We do primary care, telehealth medicine across the state. So we have a lot of clients from different areas, Spartanburg, Greenville, different areas that will call if they have like a cold or a sinus issue. And then we also serve primary care, but it's all self-pay. A lot of our clients are they don't have insurance because of, certain things with insurance now. So they just rather just pay out of pocket for services. And we do a lot of workshops and stuff at the office. So we have brunches and gatherings and just release moments and friendsmas, just a lot of things to bring individuals together holistically because people need that. And as a provider, I think it's my due diligence to make sure that I'm serving my community on every aspect that I can. I'm not a perfectionist as a provider, but where God tells me to fill in the gap, that's what I do.
Okay. Because you just have an event, um, was it a week ago? Or was it
Saturday, we just had an open
Saturday?
for
Yeah,
brunch.
so tell
Oh
us
my
about
God.
that event. I heard so many amazing things about that
Oh my
event.
God.
So tell us about
Listen,
That's
I have
a
been
big
changed.
event.
We have had a lot of events. We have so many great events, but Saturday, that was life changing. I have not been the same. I mean, like my mindset has shifted. I mean, it's just a whole nother level. Like my actions are lining up with my mindset. I'm hearing people saying, like, this happened to me this week. I mean, it's a whole nother level. The sacrifices that I've already said, you know what? I'm really honing down into what I said I'm gonna do on my vision. And I've been doing that all week. And sometimes we have a taboo phase. We'll be like, okay, we want this event, we about to just do this for a week. But no, like my life has been changed. Miss Roshana Pratt, I call her Auntie Ro, she did that. Okay.
Oh yeah. That
She did that. Like it's no turning back. I just don't, I'm speechless. Like it was just like we were supposed to end at 2:30. And one of the girls, I was telling them, like, y'all, let's go ahead and start wrapping things up. I try not to be overwinded. And the girl was like, you can't hold on time with God. And she said her words, and next thing you know, we was in there till like 5 o'clock. So it was just like, it was just, whew, that was life changing. I've never been to an event that was that. I've never been. I've hosted a lot of events, but that was the number one life changing event that I've like hosted. It was amazing.
that is wonderful. People want their lives changed. And so, sometimes people get into spaces because, hey, this is what I see, or this is what I see a trend.
Hmm.
But when you know that is your purpose and you're called by God, you
Yeah,
have, I call it that secret sauce that nobody else has, and it's the
yeah.
Holy Spirit. And people don't understand
Seriously.
that. They don't realize that when you're called to something, or when you're set to make um, to be a trailblazer and break barriers, that there's this anointing on you to do it. And although
Hmm.
it may look easy to them, it's just like the grace. It's like even when you speak, I've seen you speak a couple of times, and it's like the grace. You always are very graceful, and you make people feel like, you know what, I can do it. I really
I
can do it. I
appreciate
really
that.
can take care of myself. I really can love myself
Yeah,
the way I need to be loved. And so,
yeah,
when you have that grace, that's just what it is. So
yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to get to one of your events.
Listen, you gotta come. We're gonna try to have something next month, but we're trying to. I'm praying on it. I'm like, cause I really have to pray on these events. That's why people be like, why you always put them at the last minute? I'm like, cause you don't know. I be meditating for a long time. I gotta make sure. Cause I don't care about having stuff. It's just like I really wanted to be impactful. Because
Yes.
I know what I needed. Cause when I grew up, I didn't have that. Like that, I didn't have that type of support. My family were church, but not on a business level. So you have to have that environment. I went to the state house today and they were talking. Ursula, I don't know if you know her, that was in the Medea movie. She was just
Okay.
saying, how important it is to belong. Like you want to belong to an environment or a community that supports you and uplift you. And as women, we need that. We need community. No matter how much we try to do it by ourselves, we cannot. We
No, you
cannot do it by ourselves. And we are so much better together. And so I have to meditate on it, but I know that it's important. So like I told them Saturday, I was like, I don't know, we're gonna have anything to like the end of the year. They was like, no, like you gotta have some. I was like, listen, like hold on, let me pray on it. But we need each other. We just need each other. And
yeah,
so that's my goal, is to always make sure it's impactful.
yes. I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Just, you know, having those places where women can come together, because women, not only women, but especially African American women, we need
We need community.
support. Because one thing about, I call us an anomaly. We're something that everyone wants to be like.
Hmm.
Everyone wants a part of who we are that's naturally a part of how God made us. And so sometimes when we show up as ourselves, they can be envious. They don't know how to take us. They don't know what to do. And so having a group of women to push you, or to make you know that, hey, this is what I have and this is what I have to offer. And you don't have to feel like, am I, can I do this? No, you got some sisters or a group
Yeah.
of You can do it.
Yeah.
Yes, you have what it takes. This is your lane. This is what you're thriving in. And so having that community is so important. I tell people all the time, having a group of women in your life is healing. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't think you don't it's healing in a different way, because sometimes we get advice from our family, but sometimes it's out of protection, or it's out
Yeah.
of not wanting you to go
Yeah.
too far, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
No, seriously.
but when you have a group of women that's like-minded, they're gonna say, "Hey, go for it,"
Yeah.
versus trying to keep you in a box because they don't want you to get hurt or they don't want you to get disappointed.
Right.
And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that, because sometimes family means well, but
Mm-hmm.
they
It's
don't
their
they're
perspective.
looking out. They're not looking really at the big picture. They're looking at, "Hey, I don't want my baby or I don't want my sister to have to go through certain things." But
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go through things to get
Yeah.
to the next
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, for example, one event I had, actually I'll talk about Saturday. So one of the ladies that was there, if I wouldn't have asked her to participate, we wouldn't have known her story. But because she told her story, it broke something in her. And so she could not stop saying, even like after the event, she just kept saying, "I'm just so glad that you told me to come. I'm so glad you invited me to speak. I'm so glad." And it made me realize that if we don't have community, how do we really break free? And my bishop, Bishop Michael Blue, said on Sunday, he said, if you never tell the old testimony, how will you ever tell the new testimony? So you gotta have a community where you can be open to talk about these things, because the healing that's gonna come forth. And then once that happens, God's gonna do even more greater things for you, because now you're in alignment with what He needs you to do to help continuously break this cycle, because we're gonna keep breaking the cycle. It's designed for us to keep breaking the cycle, because if it wasn't, then why would, even in the African American community, why would slaves be free? Why did they get free if we weren't supposed to keep helping
Yeah.
other individuals break free? So it's just a cycle that we got to keep doing, but we gotta have community in order to do it, because somebody got to see somebody else be bold.
Mhm.
Somebody got to see somebody else tell the story. Somebody got to know, like, I'm not in this by myself. And as business women, I've learned I had to go to therapy when I first did business, because my mom straight up, she was like, "You sure this what you want to do? Because you don't have to do this. You could be a nurse practitioner and make this amount of money. You don't have to worry about all this X, Y, and Z. You could do this on the side." But I know that if I'm going to see a change in my family, somebody got to do it, because then it's going to be the same thing over and over and over, and nobody else won't be able to break the cycle. So
Mhm.
like my niece called me now, and I don't, not that I hate, I'm being transparent on here tonight,
No,
but
it's
I'll say this and then I'm gonna let you go ahead. But like, for example, one of my nieces called me and she was just like, texting me, "Auntie, this is going on." I told her the only way to really be financially free is to have a business in the world that we live in. You're gonna have to have a business. But the person that my mom raised, I would have thought, oh, I need to just work a job 9 to 5, but that's not the way to financial freedom. You're gonna have to have a business if you want to be financially free. It's the only it's really the only way out. And if you don't do it, then your spouse got to do it. Somebody gonna have to have another way of having, another extra income. And a lot of times working 9 to 5 won't just do it. And so I was also able to talk to her about investments and stocks. But those are things that my parents, they ain't trying to talk that conversation.
no. They weren't having that conversation. They'll tell you need to save money, or you need to save your money, but what am I going to do with the money that I'm saving?
That
Like,
I'm
what am
saving.
I saving it for? What am I doing with the money, or what am I
Right.
supposed to do? And so, you know it's time to teach the next generation of women, hey, you can have these things, um
Mm-hmm.
and do these things. And I always have this joke and everybody laughs at me when I say it, about, they was like, "Oh, I want my Boaz," and I'd be like, "I don't want a Boaz because I don't want nobody to come redeem me. I
Right.
already own woman. I'm not poor. I don't want nobody to come and get me out of field. I just don't." So people
Right.
be
Because
saying that
I'm in the overflow.
that's not that's that is, I
But
don't
that's
want
real though.
that's real
That's
husband. And
real.
that's like that
That's
gives you a
real.
Cinderella complex sometimes, and people don't really talk about it in church. That's all they talk about. She got redeemed.
I'm
Bro,
not.
nobody come get me.
I'm not. And that's the thing. We have to change what come out of our mouth. And that was a topic that Miss Rose talked about Saturday, because she talked about sometimes we curse our own gifts. We'll say things like, "Oh, I'm tired of doing this," or "Oh, this, it got to be something better than," like you curse your own gift. But like you said, okay, y'all want a husband, but then if you say I want a Boaz, and now you don't curse yourself to being broke, or you don't curse yourself to scarcity, and that is not what God has for us. So I'm learning to, just live. If you're in the overflow, just go on. God gonna give you your man.
Yeah.
He gonna give you your man, and it's never gonna be like anybody else. That's why, honestly, I use my faith as a, sometimes I look at scriptures or certain things in the Bible, and I'll say, if God could do it for them, He could do it for me. But I never want to say, oh, I want to be like this person. Oh, I want to be, because you don't know what you're putting yourself into. You don't know what kind of bind, you don't know what kind of curse you're putting yourself into. So you do, like you said, have to be so mindful of what you say, because words, you don't know how it's transforming, and because that stuff is real, it's real. You could tie yourself up in something and don't even know that you tied yourself up in it because of what you said. So yeah.
That is so true. So you mentor so many women of
Look at us.
all
We got to
walks,
get back on topic.
right? I always get, I get to that. So what are some lessons that you teach the women about purpose? About finding their purpose and walking in their faith, because you're always talking about making sure your faith is strong and knowing God. So what are some lessons that you taught these women about faith and resilience?
The biggest thing is when you know who you are in God, who is with you, who are you in Him. Are you the little girl from back in the day that was, scared or fearful? Or are you the woman in God that's bold and confident in who He called you to be? And also, what did He give you? What is your craft? What is your gift? What is the thing that you love to do? What is the thing that you consistently think about? What is the thing that people always, pride you on? Like, what is the thing? I won't say pride, but what are they always, congratulating you on, or saying you do such a good job with this? That is your gift. And once you learn your gift, you gotta push your gift so far. I mean, if God gave you, to be an English teacher, or He said you're well with words, or you know how to write, okay, you can write a book, but maybe He's calling you to another level. There's always levels to your gift. He may be calling you not just to write a book, but help as a tutorer, or open up your tutoring school, or from that, you know, be a consultant for, a ghostwriter. Like, there's just so many levels to purpose, but you got to know your gift. You got to know what it is that you love to do. And the thing that I see a lot with women is, for some odd reason, a lot of times women are not as confident. It's like there's always sometimes with some women this thing that just, you know, make them feel like I gotta dim my light. But you can't dim a light that God gifted you. You just gotta go. You just gotta keep knowing, because He's not going to shout. He's not gonna completely take away your light. It may come down a little bit. He may, there may be a little lamp that you put on it yourself, because of you don't want to show up, or you don't want a lot of people to know. But there is people that know that you have this gift. So the light is already on you, but you gotta be able to free yourself so the light can shine brighter. You got to take the lid off. You got to be able to open up, because either way it goes, He's going to keep doing something to make you understand this is your gift. And sometimes, even with me, when I went through nursing school, I had failures. I didn't know why I was failing. I'm like, God, why? I can't, like, that's crazy. How I'm failing these tests. I'm overthinking, having anxiety and going through little stuff. And I could not. I mean, I had test anxiety, bad, knew the stuff, but test anxiety was out the roof. But God was not going to let me not go through nursing school, because He knew where He wanted to take me. And even I know now He's still going to take me to a whole nother place in as a nurse and as healthcare. But He's never going to not make you understand this is your gift. So when you're going through tests and trials, and that purpose and that gift is tied to it, that is what you should be doing. And so I always try to empower women to understand it is your gift. So when women come to me and tell me certain things, or certain things that they do, and sometimes God will give me a word, this is what you need to do. This is this is what you need to move forward with this. And a lot of times, sometimes people move on it, sometimes people don't. But if you move on it, it's so freeing. It's a joy that comes. And that's why I think I push people so much, because I'm in my purpose. It feels good. So that's why I can sit here and say, as a leader, challenges is okay.
Mhm.
Lessons is okay. Things are going to happen. Whoop de
Mhm.
doo. I'm gonna keep moving, because my joy, first of all, comes from God, but He's giving me a gift that is so freeing, that if I never make money, if I can just empower and help women, that is my blessing. And because of that, I'm never gonna lack. So people go through stuff and it's like, I can't, they'll get into business and like, I can't make the money. I don't understand. That's not what He called you to. What He
Mhm.
called you to, you will never lack in what He called you to. It may not be $1 million check, but better believe your needs will be met.
Yeah.
So when you're in your purpose, you flow on a different level. The oil is so different. The overflow is so different. There's an abundance that is so different. There's a whole nother level of anointing that come with that purpose. Like, you
Mhm.
touch lives on a whole nother level just by
Mhm.
you being a cook, just by you,
Yeah.
making t-shirts. Like, it's just a whole nother level, and it's kingdom.
Mhm.
It's kingdom when you can actually just flow in your purpose. It's freeing. It's freeing
Yeah.
when you're in there. All I can
You
tell
in
you
there.
is joy.
It's true, and so many people are just searching for their purpose. And I can remember a while back, I always get these, I always ask God, what's my scripture for the year? So one year, the scripture was, your gift will make room with you. And I was like, for you. And I was like, that's it? Like, what? What were you talking? And I was like, that's all you telling me? I've been
Mhm.
hungry for 21 days. And so you told me, you know.
And that
But
means so much.
now that I really dissected it years
Mhm.
later, I see how my gift has made room. And sometimes you may think it's one specific gift, but it could just be the gift of your life, the gift of showing up. And I'll tell you, even now, I went on a job interview. I didn't get the job. But because I'm so passionate about helping child care centers that grow and thrive and have quality care, somebody on the interviewing team hired me later on, and they had a child care.
Wow.
It was like, I never forgot about you.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Wow.
But
That's how
so
He do.
sometimes you think it's just, oh, my education, I got this degree and that's my gift.
Mhm.
But just the gift of being authentic and your passion for something will show up. And then another center I have, I was just talking to a lady about kids and somebody called her. She's like, oh, I know somebody. So she called me and said, hey, can you talk to somebody? And so that's how I have my second center to consult.
Wow.
Not because I knew
Wow.
these people, but because I just was passionate and just talking about it and how I wanted to help someone and how I've given myself in corporate centers and they didn't for hours, 60 hours a week, burnt out. But I sowed those seeds, and I always
Mhm.
tell people every seed you sow, you will reap because it's a
Yeah.
principle. You might not reap it where you think you're gonna reap it from. You might reap it years later, it might be from a random person, but every seed you sow, you're going to reap. And I think sometimes we get so worried about what we're going to get back and how we're going to get it back. Wow. If you're on a job and you feel like they're not valuing you and you're saying, you know what? I'm not going to do my best. I'm not going to show up as my best. But you showing up
Mhm.
as your best is a seed somewhere else. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you can curse yourself by, you got to work as unto the Lord. Because if you're
Yeah.
saying you're a kingdom woman, you're a kingdom man, you're walking in what God called you to walk in.
Mhm.
Every seed you sow is going to come back to you,
Yeah.
whether it's the place you're at now or years later when you open your own business. People can hear the stories and move and flow in what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you can tell your story like, hey, I was here and now I'm here. So where do you
Mhm.
see yourself evolving to in the next 5 years?
Whew.
or even the next year? How do you see yourself evolving? Because I already know it's another level for you.
It's another level.
Where you see
It's
yourself
just
evolving.
honestly just I try not to put no stipulations, but God, I mean, just expansion as a healthcare provider, expansion in my business, expansion in the patient care, just expansion. And it may not be a physical location, it could just be, expansion on the reach to larger communities, policyholder, just a larger realm to be able to impact on a greater scale. And spiritually, I know that that's going to take me to a whole nother level. So just expansion. Just expansion. It comes with purpose.
Yes, so I'm definitely excited about your expansion. I'm excited about what you're going to do. And we talked a lot about you leaving a legacy and your impact that you're making. And we always think I'm about to be, I call it my double 25. And you start, I'm almost a half a century, and you start thinking about what is the impact that I've made with my life? What impact do I want to make for the rest of my life? So tell me, or tell my audience what legacy you want to leave, not just in healthcare, but just for women in general. When they say, Kendrea Robinson, what legacy you want or you desire to leave for a group of women, for Black women, for white women, for Hispanics, just women in general? What would you desire to leave a legacy about?
Well, recently, I did a speaking engagement and they read my bio. And it was that moment, and it was actually at my church, but it was that moment that I realized how far I had came and how I have impacted so many different individuals, but especially women. And in that, it woke me up because you move so much. We move when we're doing, like when we're having events or we're starting something or we're doing something. We don't really think about like the future. I know I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna impact this many people on this time frame, but I was just moving. I was just doing. I just wanted to impact right then. I just wanted these women to see this or feel this or hear this. And now when I reviewed that and all the magazines and different things I was in, it really touched me. Like I get chills now talking about it. It really made me realize that because of that, and I can look back and say that I was able to help so many people, like so many women, it makes me want to go on a greater level because there are just so many people who are broken, because there are so many people who are hurting, so many people who don't know. And that's the worst part is people who don't know. They don't know, like they don't have, nobody is guiding them. They don't even know to go to God. And so I just want to be able to impact on larger scales because I'm realizing every day, there's just so many people that need what God has given me. And because I'm bold enough to talk about it and because I'm bold enough to share it, they're going to be changed and it's going to impact not just them. As I'm looking at my life, it's going to impact other people, other family members, other friends, other people they don't even know. They could be in the store and because of something I said or did, it can impact because there's people that impact me. There's people that say things or people that, think events I go to that impact my life. And because of that, I am who I am now. So moving forward, I just want to be able to continue to impact on larger scales because people need what they don't even know. They need it. People need it. And it's going to be, life changing. So that is my biggest thing is I just want to be able to impact on a greater scale. When I say greater scale, it could be 5 other people, but it's just that I want to be able to share my testimony so that people can be transformed because that's the only way we're going to have a better world, a better community. We got so much, you know, going on around us. There's so much chaos. People are confused. I was talking with some people the other day and they were real life like telling me about some things and I was just shocked that People are not depending on God for advice. they're not they're not depending on him. They depend on so many other things. And that is why if we don't be careful enough to share an impact, we will end up being the 1% with the Holy Ghost, and everybody else will be running the world. And even though we'll be tapped in our assignment, we'll be focused, it's the chaos, the children, the elderly, all the other people that becomes affected when we don't share our testimony and get other people to Christ.
That is so good that, and it's true. We're here to make an impact. We're here to be the salt and the light. And especially with the world and all the things that are going on, I have to constantly tell people, listen, we are of a different kingdom, and you have to stop repeating and rehearsing what you see in your ear gate and your eye gate constantly, because it will have you confused. It will have you not working in your purpose. You'll be feeling anxious, and that's the enemy's plan, to make people
Mhm.
anxious, not working their purpose, not leave a legacy, not do what you're doing, making an impact, telling people what they don't know, helping people feel better, and
Mhm.
letting them know, hey, it's a different way you can do this. You can feel good. You can move from being a diabetic to someone who is now not a diabetic, or you can change your lifestyle, even if for I don't know how 20, 30, 40, or even 50
Mhm.
years, this is how you ate. This is what your family taught you, but you can break that cycle. And I think sometimes having someone that looks like you, that you're familiar with, that can tell you that you're doing it, makes a great impact. Sometimes you see people and
Mhm.
they tell you, and you're already telling you in your mind, oh, it's easy for them because, they had this. But when you see someone just like you and they can tell their story, that kind of eliminates the excuses
Yeah,
for
it
people.
do.
And so, I feel like you're helping people eliminate the excuses, like, okay, no, no, my family, we ate like this. My family, we did this. But guess what? This is what I do now. And I decided,
Mhm.
I made a decision. And so, helping people make that decision is a big part of what you do. So, how do you do that? When someone comes in and they at their wits end and they're ready to dive in, or do they need a little help?
So it's both. So I have some people that are like, I'm not, I'm not about to stop doing that. I just want shots. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. When you don't get the results you want, you'll change. And then I have some people that are ready and they're ready to dive in. But one thing about me, I'm going to be real. And so sometimes I got to turn on Kendra, the provider, and not Kendrea, the provider. Because Kendra, the provider, we're going to have to keep it 100. Like, this is what's going on. If you don't listen, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to have to tell you and get down to the nitty gritty. And because sometimes if you say it too nice and, you're not being realistic, then people, they're not gonna listen. And I also love to meet people where they are. So if you're like, you know what, I can't do this. Okay, let's do one thing. What do you want to do first? You want to start working out first, or do you want to eat healthy first? Which one you want to do? Because we gotta do both. But I'm gonna work with you. Or if we're gonna do both, let's do 20 minutes to work out 2 or 3 times a week right now. And let's eliminate two things from the diet that's heavy in, dairy, or heavy in fat, or heavy in salt and sugar. Let's do that first. Like, let's just meet where you're at. And a lot of times they love that because it does work. And then when they see results, they're like, girl, the next week you hear, girl, I did X, Y, and Z, or I went a little longer this week, my workouts. And I love it because once I meet them where they're at, it gives them a little more drive when they see results. So that's the biggest thing. And like I tell people, you have to do work. You have to be a doer in order to get results. So if you don't do the work, you're not going to get results. So yeah, you can come get injections, but those injections are to enhance what you're doing. So you want to enhance it on a greater level. Why pay your money if you're not going to do the work? But my staff, they'll tell you, I'm not going to take everybody money. If I see that you have plateaued out, we're not collecting no more money because you're not trying to do nothing extra to lose the weight. Like, Ain't no need for you to waste your money and come in and I'm keep talking to you and you not changing, because you got to change. You got to do the work.
Yes, you got to do the work. It has been such a pleasure having you on tonight and you
It was a
sharing your
pleasure being
story.
here.
Yes, I always ask my guests to give the final words. What is something that you would just like to share from your heart, just to our audience, about being a woman in business of faith? What would you like to share? Just a parting word for everyone.
But I will just encourage everyone, and especially women, in the season that we're in, to silence the noise and tap into just you and God. And when I say silence the noise, that could be, turning off social media, disconnecting, deleting the apps, or it could just mean, when your kids go to bed, instead of you doing other things, just sit down for a second and just be in his presence. Spend more time with him. Because in this season, God is building up his next generation. He's building up his next mothers, prayer warriors, prophets, pastors, ministers. And it doesn't mean you have to have a title, but he's building up his next generation. So you need to be in preparation mode, meaning that if you spend more time with him, he's going to give you strategies, purpose, and plans on how to maneuver through this, because this is not an easy thing for us. It's not easy, especially as believers, but we got to stay in tune and tap into more prayer, more sacredness, more sacrificing, so that when we enter another level of the promised land, we will not be where some other people are going to be. And so tap in, tap into what he's doing in this season, but tap into it spiritually. Tap into it spiritually. Get into your closets, go into your little corner, just silence the noise in this season, because there's so much, it's a lot going on, but we're going to have to silence. We got to kill our flesh in this season, so that way we can tap fully in, because the next level, people see the next level as something really bad, but if you're really tapped in spiritually, it's going to be something great for his kingdom. So just tap in spiritually.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you on. You have been on the couch with Kendrea Robinson on the Queen's Couch, and so we just kicked off our Women's History Month series talking about faith and medicine. And join us next week, and we will be with the Balloon Lady, and she is going to talk about business, family, and legacy. So join us as we share stories celebrating her story on the Queen's Couch. We will see you next week. And thank you so much, Kendrea. And
Thank
we will
you.
see you on the couch. And this is the place where queens collaborate and do not collide. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we will see you next week with the Balloon Lady. Have a good night. Bye bye. Hello and welcome to the Queen's Couch podcast with our amazing host, Dr. Tanika Victoria. She curates a space for women where all women are encouraged to collaborate and do not collide. Join us on the couch tonight.